This is VOA Africa. Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory in for hashtag the US. It's Wednesday, August the 7th. This is Africa 54. Recounting Liberia's slavery past and hopes for the future of Africa's first independent colony. The South African pilots behind an inspirational homemade plane flight across Africa die in a crash in Tanzania. And Google says hello to commuters, Nigerian style. After years of tension between indigenous people and the African Americans that settled in Liberia, some are hopeful for the future of Africa's first independent colony. Jason Mansoray explains in this report.
This was one of the first streets built by freed American slaves in Liberia. As slavery started to end in America, there was a choice many had to make: to stay or go back and resettle in an African colony. Many decided to undertake the hazardous journey by boat, including Christine Tolbert's grandfather.
Most of the people, a great percentage of them, died during the first month or two of their arrival in Liberia. They died from malaria. They died from, they call it the African fever.
Founded by born free and freed slaves from the US and the Caribbean, Liberia is Africa's first and oldest modern republic, home to the continent's first black government. Water Street is now the site of a bustling market, but it's been a difficult journey since Joseph Roberts, a man born free in Virginia, became the colony's first black governor and later declared independence in 1947. Christine's own father, William Tolbert Jr., Liberia's 20th president, was slain in a coup d'etat, and the man who toppled him, Samuel Doe, Liberia's first indigenous leader, was unseated in 1989 by Charles Taylor and rebels from the Ivory Coast, plunging Liberia into a long conflict that cost thousands of civilian lives.
We were on the road for development. Our development was intercepted with a civil war. The Civil War now destroyed most of the institution system. People died. The education system was a little bit not stabilized. So we're coming back to getting back to course, and I have hope.
Today, Liberia is more in harmony. Its indigenous and Americo-Liberian populations are hungry for prosperity as they carry the hopes and dreams of their forefathers into the future.
Jason Mansoray of Reuters with that report. Now, a South African group of teenage pilots who flew a self-assembly aircraft across Africa are back in South Africa after tragedy struck the expedition. The two experienced adult pilots manning the support airplane accompanying the teens died in an accident in Tanzania. Marisa de Klerk has the details from Kailami, South Africa.
The victims of the U-Dream Global Cape to Cairo expedition were two directors of the non-profit Des Werner and Werner Vroeneman. Their Sling 4 plane reportedly went down shortly after taking off in Tanzania en route to Malawi over the weekend. Athol France, editor and owner of the African Pilot magazine, has been following this initiative ever since the founder of U-Dream Global, 17-year-old Megan Werner, pitched the idea of teens building a plane and flying it from Cape Town to Cairo to the Commercial Aviation Association of South Africa.
It's difficult to speculate on what happened, why it happened, other than I understood they had an engine failure. My take of Des Werner is that he was a highly qualified airline transport pilot. I understand he had something like 15,000 hours under his belt. I was really looking forward to the homecoming party in which we could celebrate the achievements of Megan and her friends. And I'm just so sorry that it's ended in this tragedy.
According to U-Dream Global, Werner and Vroeneman were on their way to join up with the U-Dream Global teen pilots and their self-built plane in Malawi. They were to fly back to South Africa. In June, Fruneman said he signed up for the mission because the initiative changes lives. But the journey was not always easy.
You need to have a positive attitude. You need to take the right positive actions and take action, not just sit back. And have faith. Because there's no way that we could have seen the problems that came up. There's no way that we could have known the solutions when we started.
U-Dream founder and teen pilot Megan Werner is also Des Werner's daughter. She initiated the project to show other young people that dreams can come true. At the maiden flight event of the self-assembled U-Dream global plane in South Africa, shortly before the journey to Egypt started, Belinda Werner and her husband Des talked about their expectations for the trip.
I think any mum is concerned, or any mum and wife is concerned.
And wife.
And wife would be concerned. But, you know, me being in aviation as well and being exposed to all sides of aviation, I think I'm happy that they've chosen this industry to get the message out there that anything is possible, because that's what we believe as a family as well.
On the U-Dream Global Facebook page, the families of the deceased pilots requested respect for their privacy during this trying time. Marisa de Klerk for VOA News, Kyalami, South Africa.
Well, at this hour, U.S. President Donald Trump is in Dayton, Ohio, and will travel later on Wednesday to El Paso, Texas, the two cities where a combined 31 people were shot and killed over a span of 24 hours last weekend. The president's visits come amid renewed calls for stricter regulations on guns and criticism of Trump's own remarks in the past about undocumented immigrants that have been denounced as racist. VOA's Richard Green has more.
On the eve of the president's trip to Dayton and El Paso, advocates for stronger gun control laws gathered near the White House to demand that the U.S. Senate vote on legislation passed by the Democratic-controlled House that includes background checks for all gun buyers, including those on the internet or at gun shows.
I don't want to hear we don't have the votes. We didn't have the votes in 1964 for the Voting Rights Act. Right. We never have the votes. I don't want to hear it. We make the votes.
That's right.
By the pressure that we bring to bear.
In his speech Monday addressing the tragedies, President Trump cited a number of reasons for the massacres, including mental illness and violent video games. But he ignored the easy access to guns in the country, especially high-powered assault weapons, something that disappointed Mayor Nan Whaley of Dayton, where 9 people, including the suspected gunman's sister, were killed at a popular nightclub.
Look, I'm disappointed with his remarks. I mean, I think they fell really short. He mentioned, like, gun issues one time. I think, you know, watching the president over the past few years on the issues of guns, he's been, I don't know if he knows what he believes, frankly.
The suspected gunman, Patrick Crucius, reportedly posted a white supremacist message online hours before the shooting that expressed intense hatred towards Hispanics. Trump called on Americans Monday to condemn such rhetoric, but Trump himself is accused of embracing such ideology, including a speech at a rally just this past February in El Paso, where he vowed once again to build a wall along the southern border to keep out illegal immigrants from Mexico and other Central American countries.
Walls work. Actually, there's nothing like them for what we're talking about. We want to stop drugs. We want to stop traffickers. We want to stop criminals from coming in. Walls save lives. Walls save tremendous numbers of lives.
Democratic presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke says Trump's anti-immigration rhetoric makes him unwelcome in El Paso, a city O'Rourke formerly represented in Congress.
There's a very real consequence to this. We've seen hate crimes on the rise in this country every single one of the last 3 years. And if you needed any further proof, what took place in Saturday should satisfy any open question about what the president has done. So do I believe that he wants to move forward on anything that would positively address the situation? Absolutely not.
But El Paso Mayor Dean Marco says he will welcome Trump to the city upon his arrival. Richard Green, VOA News, Washington.
Well, President Trump is expected in Texas later today. Viewers Celia Mendoza is in El Paso. She now joins me live. Hello, Celia.
Hi, Vincent. Thank you.
Yes, now the president will be there today. How are the people of El Paso preparing to welcome the president?
People in El Paso, Texas are very conflicted, facing the fact that the president has made comments in the past about Mexicans, Hispanics, immigration. That has generated different reactions. One is a protest that will be at 12 noon here in El Paso, Texas. Even though temperatures will reach 100 degrees, people are coming out to the streets and protest the president of the United States. They have fill out a petition, 24 hours, a coalition of immigration groups and those that are against guns, said that they got 17,000 signatures from people who live in El Paso who doesn't want him here. They also said that they had collected the signatures from people from other places in the United States, and that is something that they believe is a sign that he should not be coming to El Paso today. However, other of the residents who had voted for the president, who believe in rights for Texans as well as the United States people to get guns, have said that it's important that the president is coming to meet with survivors, to learn who they are, and to also see what he has to say. Now, the president made news before leaving Washington, saying that he doesn't think that his rhetoric is a problem. He believes that actually comes and helps to bring people together, and he was clear saying that the country is doing really good, even though many of his supporters here in El Paso are questioning if he is the choice that they want to keep following after this shooting.
And you know, White House officials have insisted that the focus should be on the shooter and that it has nothing to do with whatever has been said elsewhere. How are the people of El Paso taking that?
It's very interesting. I just spoke to two gun owners, Hispanics, one born and raised here in El Paso, the other one came from Mexico and live here. Both have guns. Actually, one of them has assault weapons. He said he had the same gun that the shooter has, but he believes that the actual problem is the rhetoric and the words expressed by the president in rallies, as well as when he started his campaign. They don't forget the fact that he said that Mexicans are bringing drugs, that they're rapists, that they're criminals, and that's something that the president will have to come to terms. They are expecting an apology. We don't know if the president is ready to do that. Some others believe that the president is trying to do his best, and they believe that it's important to hear what he has to say when he comes to El Paso, Texas. Now, it's a very difficult situation. It's a lot of emotions here for many of the people, and they do blame the shooter. They know that that's the reason all of this happened, but they don't take completely the blame from the president of the United States.
Now you're standing right in front of the sign of the Walmart. Tell us a bit about the return to normalcy there. What are you sensing?
As you can see behind me is a lot of people. This has become basically a makeshift memorial for the victims. People come here to grieve, to come together and try to move forward. Authorities are still treating this area as a crime scene. They have cars from those that were inside the Walmart. They had not been able to be moved. They're expected to come to normal in the next few days. We don't know exactly what Walmart is going to do with this store, but definitely it's a place where this community has come together to try to move forward.
Celia, thank you very much. That's VOA Celia Mendoza reporting live from El Paso, Texas. Well, we're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, Google unveils a local voice feature in Nigeria.
Sally, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. These Sierra Leonean villagers are part of a new activist trend. Koidu residents have filed a lawsuit against diamond mining firm Octeo Limited and related companies, highlighting how communities in developing countries are becoming increasingly emboldened to use courts to pursue grievances. The number of high-profile lawsuits against foreign natural resource firms filed by communities in developing countries nearly doubled over the last decade to 30, according to data from the Business and Human Rights Resource Center. Outcomes have been mixed. Next up, in this southern Indian village, these abandoned fishing nets are the catch of the day. Also known as ghost nets, the often nylon plastic netting entangles marine life, snags boat propellers, and damages engines. The nets also degrade into microplastics that are eaten by fish, entering the food chain. But companies like Starboard, based in Bangkok, are putting the nets to good use by recycling them into surfboards. The roughly 1,000 fishermen that retrieve the abandoned nets are paid for the work, a boon of up to 20% extra for their monthly income. And finally, Japanese electronics manufacturer NEC Corporation unveiled a prototype flying car that stayed in the air for almost a minute during a test in Japan this week. About the size of an auto rickshaw and equipped with 4 horizontal propellers, the drone-like prototype reached a height of about 3 meters during the test on Monday. The Japanese government aims to start commercializing flying vehicles from around 2023, beginning with transportation of goods and expanding to moving people closer to 2030. And that's what's trending today.
Well, Senegal is one of the world's biggest contributors to plastic in the ocean. The West African nation is now ready to crack down on polluters with a new law and fines. Serena Chaudhry has the details.
For more than 10 years, Senegalese eco-warrior Modou Fall has been fighting to change people's habits of throwing plastic waste out into the streets with no concern for its effect on the environment. Covering himself in used plastic bags, he regularly visits schools and teaches children about the importance of rejecting the use of plastic. For him, saving the planet and the oceans from plastic pollution starts very young and at home.
People need to know that the state can't do everything because it's not the authorities that bring all of this here. It's the people. It's their place of work. It's their dumping ground. It's here, they just do whatever.
Senegal is one of the world's biggest ocean polluters, with one estimate putting it at 21 on the list among much richer and more populous countries like the US and India. The government banned single-use plastics of less than 30 microns back in 2015. But it's failed to successfully apply the law. And plastic bags are still an integral part of the urban landscape, widely used by small vendors, sandwich shops and at markets.
It's true. We should have enforced the law immediately, given that it is a law that dates back to 2015 and it is applicable. There was a delay when the law was voted.
The West African nation is now set to crack down on polluters, with plans for a new law, police interventions and fines of up to $85 US. But some environmentally conscious Senegalese are skeptical of waiting on the government for change to happen, like Copacabana bar and restaurant owner Babacar Chow.
You see, look at the beach, how beautiful it is. But at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., you come back and it looks like a dumping ground, because people bring their products and their plastic and they throw it anywhere.
Chow has joined forces with other locals and organizations to start cleanup operations on Dakar's beaches and streets, and plans to have a zero-waste business by September, with a water fountain and glass bottles, as well as a new coffee machine that doesn't use capsules.
Reuters' Serena Chaudhary with that report. There are an estimated 12,000 homeless people living in Seattle, Washington, according to the U.S. government. Among those homeless is a significant but difficult to quantify number who don't speak English. One nonprofit is working to serve English learners and end homelessness all at the same time. VOA's Valdia Baraputri reports.
Muslim Housing Services operates in a city with the third largest number of homeless people in the United States. But don't let the name fool you. This organization, which has been working in Seattle for 2 decades, opens its doors to people of all faiths. Its goal is to put homeless and low-income people like this woman, who didn't want her face shown, into housing, and then help them learn to live independently.
Okay, so she came from Ethiopia, and the reason she came to this country is because there was a war back home, and she just fled the war to come here.
But she wasn't able to find a job and was on the verge of becoming homeless. For this interview, VOA was helped by Munira Gamada, a Muslim housing staff member who is fluent in Oromo, spoken in the Horn of Africa.
She likes living in Seattle, so she came here because the rent was really high, and she should have been no other way to pay for her rent. So she heard about Muslim housing through the community, the Oromo community, and so I came here asking for rental assistance.
MHS staff members speak a half-dozen African languages, as well as Arabic and Urdu. Director Rizwan Rizwi says their goal isn't just to get people off the street, but to teach them to re-engage with the world.
What we do is that we will find either a private landlord to work with them and house them and pay part of the rent, or in some cases all of the rent if they have zero income. And we will then work with, once they're housed, in many cases they don't have furniture, we'll arrange for them to get some furnishings for their unit, and then make sure that children are back in school. Mm-hmm. And then once the children are in school, we work on trying to get the parents some employment so they can become self-sufficient. Our goal is not to make families dependent on our agency. It's for us to help them get their life back on track.
The Ethiopian refugee now lives in temporary housing for women. She's also receiving help finding a job and other skills to prepare her to live independently.
Some people need a few months' assistance. Some people need several months. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they need more than a year of assistance. Some of the cases can be quite complicated, and that's why every client that works with us has a dedicated case manager. And the case manager will work with them on helping them find a unit, making sure the kids are going to school, and the family will check in with their case manager and explain what's going on.
In 2017, Muslim Housing Services helped over 1,000 individuals and families find homes and get back on track. With 12,000 people living on the street in Seattle, it may not seem like much, but it's a priceless gift for every person MHS has helped. Valdia Baraputri for VOA News.
Well, it's time for our technology segment, and joining us now is our tech reporter, Paul Ndiho, with Voice News Nigerians Can Use. Paul?
Thank you, Vincent. Commuters using Google Maps while navigating through traffic in Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, can now hear travel advice in a local voice. How about that? Uber driver Maxwell Edith has just received a request to pick up a client on a busy Lagos street, the Lekki Epi Expressway. He relies heavily on Google Maps to avoid the city's infamous congested streets and also to accurately locate his clients. Until now, Edith says that for the last 3 years, he's been at the wheel. He has often struggled to understand the accent used by the app to describe local destinations. But now he hears a travel advisor in a local voice on Google Maps, and the new features are aimed at attracting more users in Africa. The local accents feature, unveiled recently at a new event in Lagos, is also available on Google Assistant. It is the first move by the US technology giant to offer such services in Africa.
It's better now because most of our drivers are not understanding most of the English that the woman will speak. But now that they're speaking typical Nigerian English, I think everybody can understand it.
The rapidly expanding populations increase the mobile phone penetration, and crowded cities that often have poor signposts have led technology firms to identify African countries as potential growth areas. They are now offering transport features from detailed maps to motorcycle ride-hailing services. Google says its directions is set to become available in Benin, Ghana, Rwanda, Togo, and Uganda. The technology giant says it's aiming to capture new users and expand its appeal beyond just drivers. Jeff Albertson is a Google senior product manager who worked on the new development.
I've heard from users that when moving around Lagos, external factors like weather, the traffic situation, and the overall busyness of the Donfo or BRT buses may affect their decision making. So to help users make an informed decision when planning their travel, I'm thrilled to announce a new traffic tab just for Lagos.
Google partnered with a local startup, Road Preppers Technologies, to gather data on different routes and aims to tell users the best options available based on traffic, weather, and road conditions. The map will include information on the expected fare, travel time, and even photos of bus stops to help guide commuters. Outside Lagos, Google is expanding its street view imagery to Abuja, Benin City, Enugu, and Ibadan.
The Nigerian accent, it will really help because it's not everybody, understand the American accent. Sometimes, like, what is this person saying? So the Nigerian accent version could help the common man in the street.
Robert Aprarala, a youth corp member, says a distinction between the different Google voices.
I've actually not noticed the voice. I've actually not noticed the difference between the Nigerian voice and the American voice. So it is the same thing.
Google is working hard to expand in West Africa, especially in Nigeria, the continent's most populous country with an estimated 190 million people. Google unveiled the Wi-Fi hotspots across Lagos last year, and in 2017 it launched a program to teach millions of Africans technology skills in order to make them more employable. That's it. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, and that's our show for today. Have a good night.